Hello guys, welcome to Live Ed where education comes alive. This is your trusted instructor Mustafa, and today we are going to have a business English lecture in which I show you how to write professional, polite emails. Now, as you guys know, emails can be tricky to write because unlike face-to-face communication, they don't have body language or tone of voice. And because of that, email messages are incomplete. The people reading our messages, the people receiving our messages cannot get the full picture of what we are trying to tell them. Furthermore, emails can be dry, they can be rude, they can even be downright hostile if the proper words are not carefully selected. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you how to avoid all of that and compose perfectly polite and professional emails. We are going to look at 7 specific situations, 7 specific email topics in this video, in these 2 parts. And because the topic we are covering is rich and complex, we are going to do this in 2 parts. We're going to look at part 1. We're going to look at some of these 7 situations in this first part, and then in the second part, we are going to finish up with the rest of these situations and have a conclusion. And by the end of these 2-part series, you are going to have the tools, the knowledge to write very impressive, polite, professional emails. So, in the next segment, in the upcoming segments in this part, I'm first going to present you with a very bad sample of an email, an example of a very bad email. Then we're going to look at some of the techniques, some of the situations that we need to consider whenever we're thinking about writing emails. And then in the next part, we are going to finish up with these 7 situations like I've mentioned, and then we are going to conclude, and that will be the end of this video. So let's get started. Now, as you guys can see, we have a blank screen here. I'm going to use this screen to show you the sample of the bad email I just spoke to you about. Let's look at the sample together. This is an email. It's a mock email. Of course, it's not a real email. I am pretending here to be writing an email to the IT manager of my company, telling him of the problem that I'm facing with my email. Now, bear in mind that I, in this scenario, am a sales manager, let's say, or somebody from the sales department or marketing department or whatever, communicating with this person, this gentleman from the IT department, the manager of the IT department. He had, before this, suggested a solution for me that did not work, and I'm writing this email to let him know what's going on. So let's look at this email together, guys, and I want you to think while we are reading. I want you to think about ways that we can correct this email, just in your mind, before I start sharing with you my own tips. I want you to think in your mind about what we can do to correct this email. So let's begin. Hello, Igor. My email account is still down, and I'm unable to use it to send and receive messages. A big part of my job is being obstructed as I am unable to communicate with any of my clients. This is a very big problem that needs to be resolved right now. Your idea to reinstall the system proved to be very bad and ineffective, and I believe that an IT specialist must be present in my office to fix this issue. I need you to send one of your team members to my office right now, even if they are busy. Now, as you can see, guys, as you might have guessed already, this is a bad email. This is just unacceptable. We cannot send emails like this. But the problem is, the unfortunate thing is, many of us actually end up sending emails like this because sometimes we could be unaware of the right etiquette. Sometimes we can be unaware of the right words to use. Sometimes we could be busy, frustrated, and that could be a great problem. I mean, the person reading this email might be offended. They might take this the wrong way, and a great misunderstanding might follow. So let's first, in the next segment, look at the 7 situations, the 7 specific email situations that I spoke to you about, and then we are going to come back to this email and make it look better at the end of the video. Right, guys, now that we've seen the sample of the bad email, it is time for me to now tell you the 7 situations that we're going to be discussing today, the 7 situations, the 7 email situations that our lecture is concerned with. These are reasons why we write emails. These are email topics. Of course, these are not, the topics we're going to talk about today are not all the email topics that exist in the world. There's just a sample. Let's say they're the 7 main ones that we are concerned with today. I'm going to first give you their names. I'm going to give you a list, the list of 7, and then we are going to look at each one of these topics individually. The first reason, or the first topic, is making a request, sending somebody an email, making a request, asking them to do something for you. Number 2 is making a big request, or what we call a favor. Now, this is not a simple request. It might not even be work-related. This is sending somebody an email asking them to do something big for you, to take time out of their busy schedule and attend to a matter that you're asking them to pay attention to. So this requires a lot of tact. It requires a lot of polite language, and we're going to look at that. The third situation is asking for permission, sending an email to your manager or someone in authority, asking them to let you do something. So how to write a polite email asking someone in authority to allow you to do something. That's the next situation we're going to talk about. Situation number 3. Now, the fourth situation, guys, or the fourth topic is making a suggestion. How to present your ideas to a group or to your superiors, to your managers, how to present your ideas in a very polite and professional way, making a suggestion. The next situation we're going to talk about is rejection. Now, this is very sensitive. Rejecting, refusing an offer that someone has made you. How to write an email, a professional, polite email, letting someone know that their offer has been rejected. The next situation, also a very sensitive one, pointing out someone's mistake. How to let someone know gently, politely, and kindly that they have made a mistake. And the last situation we're going to talk about, guys, is checking up on a request that you made, following up on an order or request that you made. That's situation number 7, sending an email to someone to follow up on the status of something that you have asked that person to do or to process. Now, in the next few segments, we're going to look at each one of these situations individually, and I'm going to tell you exactly the kind of words that you need to use to present these ideas, to discuss these topics in a very polite and professional way. And then again, at the end of our lecture, we're going to go back to that bad email, correct it using the information that we learned today, and see the difference between that email and the next one, which is the better one. The first situation is, the first topic, email topic that we're going to discuss today is making simple requests. Writing someone an email, reminding them or asking them to do something that they usually do. Something that is a part of their job. You are a manager and you're sending an email to your secretary asking them to send you a report or do something that they usually do. Now, going back to our bad email, as you will remember that the language that was used in that email was very dry and very direct and very rude. Come to my office now. This is a request. But even though you might be asking this from somebody who works in your team, who reports to you, asking them in that way is not right. Asking them in that way actually presents you in a very negative light. You appear very arrogant and very rude and very direct, and that's not acceptable corporate behavior. As someone who comes from a corporate background, I can tell you guys that my experience with writing emails is quite extensive, and I can actually use this, and I can use this knowledge in this, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this knowledge in this video to help you write better emails. Now, you can, when you're making a simple request, use expressions or modal verbs first, like could or would. So instead of saying, come to my office now, could you come to my office, please, sounds much better, even if you still keep now in your sentence. Could you come to my office now, please? Is much, much better than come to my office now. Would you come to my office now? These are 2 modal verbs that you can use to ask somebody to make a request in a much more polite way, even from someone who works who reports to you, or even if you're asking somebody to do something that is a part of their job. Could you and would you? Another expression, guys, is do you mind? Now, this is a very cool expression that is actually quite versatile. You can use it even in face-to-face communications. You can use it to ask somebody to do something like close the door, for example. Somebody's coming into a room where you are, and instead of telling them, close the door, you're ordering them. Chances are they're not going to comply with your order. They're not going to do it because you are very rude to them. Instead of saying close the door, you can ask, would you mind closing the door, please? Do you mind closing the door, please? Do you mind closing the door? Similarly, if you're at a library or somewhere, a movie theater, where it's supposed to be silent, and someone next to you is murmuring or making a sound or laughing loudly, you look at them and say, hey, shh, be quiet. Now, chances are, most probably, they're gonna even escalate the situation just to make you, just to spite you. But looking at them and saying, do you mind keeping quiet? Do you mind keeping it down, please? See, do you mind actually neutralizes your sentence when otherwise it would have been very, very rude. So this is the first situation, guys, making requests, asking someone to do something they need to do, they should do, or something that is a part of their daily routine, their daily job. So using could you, the model could and would with please, or do you mind makes your request sound a lot more polite, and it encourages people to comply with your request. The next situation we're going to talk about is asking for big requests, big favors. Now, in our first example, guys, the first topic, the first situation that we talked about, making a request, you ask someone to do something that they should do. If people are making noise in what's supposed to be a quiet place, they should stay quiet. If you ask your secretary to do something for you, the secretary must do it because you are the boss and you're asking the secretary to do something. So the person reporting to you has the obligation, is obligated to comply with your request. But in the situation that we're going to talk about right now, which is asking people to do you a favor, the people you're asking here, the people you are communicating with, you're emailing, are under no obligation to comply with you. Perhaps they work in a different department. Maybe it's something that you yourself should do. Maybe they are busy and you're asking them perhaps to give you priority or priority treatment to put you ahead in the queue or something like that. Going back to our email example, the bad example that we saw earlier, I was asking the manager of the IT department to leave whatever he's doing and or she's doing and attend to my request. Now, that IT manager is under no obligation to comply with me because maybe there is a proper channel that I have to go through. Maybe there's a procedure. Maybe she or he does not have to listen to me at all because they're busy and they're going to ask me to wait until they're done with their existing work. So here I want to be extra careful and I want to be extra encouraging for these people to comply with my order because, once again, my request, they're under no obligation to comply. Now here, could and would, again, the modal verbs can work. Could you please, would you please, of course, you will insert them in your request somewhere. And but that might not be enough because you're asking somebody to do a big favor. One good expression, one good phrase that you can use here, guys, is I was hoping you could. I was hoping you could, or also I was wondering you could. Hello, Igor. After, of course, proper introduction and letting them know what the problem is, I was hoping you could take some time out of your very busy schedule to help me out with this issue. I was wondering if you could take some time out of your very busy routine, your very busy schedule to help me out with my problem. See, I was wondering, I was hoping. This is extremely polite and you're not assuming anything here. You're being very polite and you're being very understanding also. Another expression you can use, guys, is I was wondering and I was hoping, as I said, and also, do you think you might? This is another expression, a third expression that you can use, of course, along with the traditional would you and could you. Do you think you might be able to help me with this? Do you think you might be able to do this today? Do you think you might be able to give me some preference and put me ahead of the queue? So do you think you might be able to? Again, guys, this was a discussion of asking somebody to do you a big favor, and the expressions that we used here, again, could you and would you, as usual with all requests. And I was wondering if you could. I was hoping you could. And thirdly, do you think you might be able to? Now, sometimes, guys, of course, so many of our emails are actually a combination of different requests. So at the end, we're going to look at how we can put all these expressions together also into one polite professional email. In the next segment, we are going to talk about asking for permission, asking your manager or someone in authority to allow you to do something. Right, guys, that's it for part 1 of our video. In the second part, we're going to look at the remainder of the 7 situations and have our conclusion. So please go ahead and watch the second video once you are done with this, so you can get the complete idea of what we are trying to accomplish in this lecture, and that is writing polite professional emails. So see you in part 2.